I'm here with Sal Principato. This is Jamie Drummond with Good Food Revolution. We are actually recording live and direct from New York in Manhattan right now. We're in quite a wonderful little location, having a couple of beers. And Sal, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
It's good to be with you.
Now, Good Food Revolution, good food. What does good food mean to you?
Well, good food, I mean, it's a very broad concept, good food, but what the fundamental thing about good food is that it's food, it's eating the way you like, but it's also the food has to like you. So, I mean, there's a lot of like unrequited love as far as people's eating habits, people's approach to, just their whole, culinary experience. And a lot of times it's very much unrequited love where the people say, oh, this tastes good or whatever, but they don't really know what's good. Something's not only got to be pleasing to you, but you have to ultimately feel good about it after the fact. Meaning that there's a lot of food that tastes good, but after, it's not good to you. So food has to taste good, it has to be satisfying, it has to be pleasing, but also it has to be good to you. It has to nourish you, give you strength, and empower you.
Now, you come from New Jersey, that's right?
I was raised there for 18 years.
As you were being brought up by your family, what kind of food did you have there, and how did that lead into where you feel about food in this day and age?
Well, that's very interesting because I was simultaneously brought up on a typical American diet, McDonald's, sugar smacks, whatever kind of crap that was, out there, but also this Southern Italian peasant food, from like my grandparents and stuff. So it, as far as the American angle, I've learned, I kind of learned that the whole thing of food as titillization, is like exciting the senses. But I also learned from the other end, the kind of peasant, food, the basic food, food that like is really nurturing and really, I could just remember like going out to the fields in New Jersey with my grandma and picking dandelion greens and coming home and sauteing them with garlic. And, I just thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the world.
We may have to bleep that one out, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, we don't edit anything for this thing. So were you cooking from an early age or not?
It's funny because I think I was definitely interested in cooking at an early age. Because I remember just the way I kind of like looked at food and observed, I didn't cook from an early age, but I was very conscious of food from an early age and how you put it together and how it was presented and how you were supposed to feel when you ate. But I can't say, it wasn't until when I was 16, 17 years old and I stopped eating meat, which was a big scandal in my family, that I started saying, well, if you're going to eat the way you want to, you got to cook it.
Now, you're vegetarian, sort of, sometimes vegan now, but you have gone through some periods of eating meat in your life. After that thought you had about becoming vegetarian.
True. I was a vegetarian for about 5 years, and then I went off for about a year, and I went way off. It was like, just eating any old nasty stuff. And eventually I realized that I wanted, food had to serve me in a certain way, It had to serve a certain purpose in my life. And any old food didn't do that. And to a certain extent, I mean, I don't want to judge or anything, but for me it meant being a vegetarian and, if possible, being a vegan.
Now, around 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago actually, we were in a restaurant together, and you started to sort of extrapolate regarding a restaurant concept that you had, which was to do with, or at least a community idea that you had, which was to do with people getting a bit of a more relation to where their food comes from, as in, I hope you don't mind if I'm sort of paraphrasing some of this stuff, but I can remember you speaking about actually going shopping and actually purchasing stuff from some really cool little stores, and then going to cook the food together, and then sitting down and eating together. So that sort of conviviality thing that really excited me.
Yeah,
but
that's funny because that's true. I had this concept for a restaurant where it would be a grocery store and a restaurant, but also where people would cook their own food. Because especially in New York, that makes perfect sense because everybody lives in really small places and we don't have proper kitchens. So that was kind of it. But I guess the basic concept that I was going after, I don't want to serve people food. I want to inspire people to understand what they love about food. And I don't think a really good restaurant, in the traditional sense, where someone just cooks the food, that serves you, and you're not involved with the process, really does that. Really gives you a real appreciation for good food. In order to have that, you have to be involved with the process.
I can remember you mentioning this to me, and I was trying to work out how the business model would work, and couldn't work out where it was going.
That's why it ain't happening, I suppose.
But you did bring this into something that you have created, something that's become actually has quite a cult following now, and something I've had the pleasure of attending once, called Go Gather Go. Please tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, again, I think to really enjoy food, you have to be empowered by it, and to be empowered by it, you have to be part of, the process of creating a meal. So, everybody, I'm into food. I'm talking about food constantly. I've been, trying to develop all these interesting, satisfying dishes for so long, being a vegetarian. So I thought, people have often said to me, "Why don't you share this? Why don't you write a cookbook? Why don't you have a cable,
cable TV
show?" Yeah, that was a big one for a while.
Really?
Why don't you open a restaurant? And none of that really appealed to me. But what appeals to me is sitting down with some people, or not sitting down, actually standing up with some people, and not teaching them how to cook, but trying to inspire them and to infuse in them appreciation of the whole process of shopping, preparing, and consuming food. And that's where that Go Gather Go.
And so how does it come about? For our viewers and listeners, how does Go Gather Go work, and how would one hear about Go Gather Go and find out how to become part of it?
Well, being a very bad marketer, and not being at all interested in marketing myself, how it really sparked is, all right, after all this prompting and people saying, you got to do something with what you know, and I was like, I do got to do something with what I know. And I just sent out an email to some friends.
I got one of those.
Yes, saying that I'm going to do this. You want to come over, blah, 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 I'll teach you, but we'll do it together and we'll really have a good time. And viral marketing. People posted it here, there. I got some interviews, WNYC, The Onion. All these things, all these little media outlets posted me on their websites or whatever, and people from all over the world contact me about this thing. They, and they're even saying look, I live in Italy and I can't come to your thing, but could you send me some recipes? And I'm like, all right, just check out my website, or I'll, as I formulate my recipes, as I write them down, as I document them, I'll send them to you.
Now, where do you host Go Gather Go?
All right. It's a combination. I often do it at my place, and that's part of the concept, because I live in a place that's about this big, and I don't have an extravagant kitchen with all this fancy equipment. I live in a really small place. I eat, I work, and I sleep in one room. So, and within that room, I could pull off a dinner party for 12, I can't fit 12 people in my place, but I could cook for 12 people, is what I'm saying. So that's part of it, because people find every excuse not to get into really, taking hold of their diet and preparing their own food, because from my point of view, it doesn't even matter what your particulars of your diet is. The important thing is that for the most part, you prepare it yourself, or it's prepared by someone who knows you and really cares about you. You know, because ultimately, compared to commercial food, that's it.
Now, would you mind giving us a few examples of the kind of dishes that you cook? Because I think one thing that I found quite enlightening when I was around at your place was the fact that we were cooking our own food.
And cooking it from scratch, too.
Yeah, well, apart from the dosa, it completely from scratch.
No, the dosa was from scratch, you know.
Oh, but I meant the fermentation of the dosas.
Okay. So, what kind of food I cooked? All right, so when we did it, we did dosas, you know. I soaked the lentils, I soaked the rice, I fermented all that, I blended it, I created a batter. You know, I went out and got I made fresh coconut milk, you know, which you know how hard it is to take a coconut in a city apartment and be banging it and scoop it out and make coconut milk out of it. But I did it because Jamie was coming over and I was very I got to do this right and I got to do this proper. But yeah, I mean, I could probably do a vegetarian version, a vegan version of not any dish, but a dish from anywhere in the world. And that's kind of my goal, is to show people, all right, you love your sausages or whatever, and that's good, if that's what you want to do it. But there is an alternative. It's not like either or. It's not like either I eat this nasty, whatever, or I don't eat nothing. I'll show you how to make sausage out of wheat gluten that maybe not be exactly like what you expect, but certainly evoke the spirit and be as satisfying as what you are used to.
Now, if any of our viewers or listeners would be interested in getting in touch with you for Go Gather Go, how would they? You have a website, don't you?
Yeah, well, I have a blog, which is kind of cheesy, but you could go to salvatp, www.salvatp.com.
Spell it
Yes,
out.
SALV as in Victor, A, T as in Tom, P, salvatp.com. Or if you need to email me, it's the same. It's salvatp@aol.com.
Now, if you're in New York City, in Manhattan, and you're interested in one of the most unique culinary experiences that one could ever experience, I would highly recommend going along to...
But...
Here he is. Sorry.
But you got to be ready to cook, because it's not all about what I could give to you, it's what we could create together.
And that's a very, very integral part of it. I'm just going to put in a little thing at the end of this, which is the last time I came over to Sal's, I had one of the most wonderful experiences that I've had when it comes to conviviality, returning to the table and the like. But I had a little bit too much rosé wine to drink.
Man, you bought some nice bottles of rosé that night.
And then it turned into a bit of a disaster, but that was my fault. He's not
well,
saying anything.
no, man, a party's supposed to end with some broken glasses, broken plates, broken chairs, broken spleens, or whatever else was broken that night. No, it was good. It's because also part of the whole, culinary eating, process is it's a social thing too, and when I do the cooking sessions, the Go Gather Go sessions, it is about us having a few glasses of wine. At first it's all right, at first I'm no talking, no music, let's get this started because I'm hungry and I want to eat. But after a while we start pouring the wine, when things start bubbling on the stove, okay, we can turn on some music, and then it's all right, let's serve some food and drink more wine and whatever else is on hand.
Well, Sal Principato, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution this evening, and we look forward to catching up with you in Toronto at some point. So
thank you, Jamie John.
Take care.
Bye.